We need to have an honest conversation about this Peacemaker finale and the season as a whole. Did it stick the landing? Is the DCU on the right track? Why a show about Peacemaker needs to set up the next arc of the DC universe? I have no idea. But that is where we are at. And this goes without saying, a lack of cameos or other characters crossing over was not at all my problem. In fact, I've always admired James Gunn's commitment to doing right by these characters, their relationships, their growth as individuals. At the end of the day, even without the cinematic universe connections, this group is what would keep us coming back to the show. That being said, did we really need not one, but two entire musical performances? It was like a music festival sponsored by James Gunn's Spotify playlist. Also, as someone who does not really care for the whole Chris Harcourt relationship dynamic, the constant flashbacks, the will they, won't they, just did nothing for me personally. If anything, I think this episode and Peacemaker as a whole should have been more isolated. Because setting this season in the aftermath of Superman and carrying over so many characters, I think really just makes this universe feel even smaller. This is only our third project in this newly launched continuity, still trying to do too much too soon. Just let these characters vibe in their own little offbeat corner of the universe. Because the budget and scope of this show is never going to feel cohesive with universe-shattering implications. Chris has found himself trapped on the planet Salvation, which James Gunn has said will have heavy ramifications going forward, particularly his next DC film, A Man of Tomorrow. That's fine and all, but the majority of this episode just felt like dragging our feet. Especially after 6 and 7, which were two of the strongest episodes of the entire series. It just comes down to the fact that this is not James Gunn's best work. He might be spread too thin. And this is coming from someone who adored Superman. It's my favorite superhero movie of the past few years. But as a writer, director, producer, and now studio executive, he's on a Peacemaker podcast breaking down every single creative decision, constantly giving interviews and responding to social media comments and online rumors. I'm looking forward to some of these DC projects where he didn't have a direct hand in the creation, just overseen in a producing capacity. And I liked the season for the most part. This might be the best acting of John Cena's career. The alternate Earth storyline was a really compelling arc for Chris's character. James Gunn probably thought of this as his big mic drop moment, which would probably explain his own hype and the secrecy surrounding this 8th episode. I don't know, this one just left me feeling a little more empty, and I'm definitely not alone in these thoughts.